here, who is a 10-year-old buff tabby. Quite a spunky guy. So it's about an intermediate level painting. I'm going to show you a reference picture that I have of him taken here on the bed. We're going to use the wet on wet technique, and it's going to be fun. So here we go. Okay, so we're going to get started. We're working from this reference photo of my cat, Cheese. I'm going to use the wet on wet technique so I can get all that soft fuzzy hair in there. I'll try to share this image on the screen while I'm doing it. So I'm going to start with a quick line sketch. I'm going to keep it light. I want to look for just the big shapes. So here we go. I've got just a drawing pencil, graphite drawing pencil. And you, like I said, you just want to get the shapes. You can keep it light. I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So I'll zoom in a little bit. I kind of want to place, where the ears are going to be in relation to that cute little nose. And there is a paw here. So the arm kind of comes out. White paw, and there's another paw here. And the body, this is the big oval shape, goes out from the ear, kind of comes back in at the arm. So you're not going to always get it right the first time. Just do big loose gestures with your arm. The tail comes around, wraps around. This leg is just kind of tucked in there and you don't see the other. I'm going to place the eye so the eyes are kind of closed in this picture. Not a shocker, he does like to sleep a lot. We'll try to at least show the lashes and the placement of the eye. So really this is all I need. Hopefully I got it kind of centered enough on my paper here. I'm going to zoom in so you can see. See just those big shapes that kind of come together. And typically, as you paint, you'll kind of paint over these. The graphite will kind of bleed if it's painted over, so it'll kind of fade away a bit. You can use a watercolor pencil, and that will blend in even more. Sometimes I do that, and then sometimes I use the graphite so that I don't lose it completely as I'm going. So this sticks around a little while longer. So now we're going to get into the painting. So I'm going to start, like I said, this is going to be wet on wet, so I'm going to just get the whole page wet with clear water. So I'm using my large Princeton, it's a synthetic watercolor brush, a big flat brush. Got a little bit of pigment in my water here, but that's okay. I'm using the Arches 140-pound cold press paper because it'll hold the water really well. The cold press is a nice texture, and I want this to kind of soak evenly. Really, you only need to get it wet, where your animal is. I'm not sure exactly if I'm gonna paint some of this background. some of the shadow in the bedding around the cat, but for now I'll just get the whole thing wet so we don't end up with any dry edges here. So I've pre-mixed some paint. I've got a variety of warm colors. This is a warm gray, the burnt sienna, and orange, a little bit darker mix with burnt umber and ochre, and that's a mix of, I think it's the ochre and the sienna. So I've already tested some of this out. It's kind of the range of warm tones that I want for my cat here. So I'm going to go with this mix. I think it's the warm gray, and this brush soaks it up, the big round brush, and while it's wet I'm just going to go in and put in these shapes. And you want to be spontaneous, but at the same time you want to give some control over where you're dropping the color in, because it's going to blend out and give you that soft fuzzy shape, and it's going to grow beyond, you know, where you've placed it. So keep in mind how much it's going to grow. So I'm just going to kind of get some of the, it's got a little white in there, but we can dab some color out. I'm going to get the arm in here while it's wet. So just, again, filling in those shapes that you've created. It's all soft right now. We'll define edges in the next round. So you can see how the orange, this color is really expanded beyond my line, and that's fine. Just, you don't want it to go too far out. You still want it to represent your animal that you're painting. So really this is, for the first layer, I might add a little bit of shadow in here while it's still wet. Could go in with some of my darker color and add a little bit of my darker color around in the center there, around the head. There will be a little down here to give, you know, define the tail, a little around the head there, the back of the ear, where you see the shadows. In the picture, where things are a little darker. Things are still really wet right now. So wet, I am going to go in and pick up a little bit with a dry brush some of this pigment that is bleeding together on the nose. He's got some white, we've got the paw pretty well defined there, but this little bit of chest hair and around the face, I don't want it to fill in completely. There's a little bit of highlight down there. Maybe this side. Okay, so now it's dry, and I'm going to go in with a smaller brush. This is a round number 4, and I'll even get smaller as I get into those finer details. But for now, I'm going to darken up and define some of these edges, and I want to see the ear a little bit more. You can define the edge and then kind of blend it with a clear water, clear brush. Soften it out at the edges. Same thing with this ear, although what we see more here is kind of like behind the ear. And then on the inside you can add kind of a little, that's a little too red. I was trying to add a little pink in there because you kind of feel the back, the inside of the ear. And it's a little bit pink. So these are just my darker, the burnt sienna, kind of a mix. And I'm looking at the picture and kind of seeing, you know, where I'm kind of seeing the shadows, how I want to define the face. So you're leaving highlights. Remember that with watercolor. So the trick is to kind of figure out what you can paint around things so that you define the lighter spaces. You have to paint the dark to see the light. So I'm going to paint around the side of the face. And then again, that clear brush to kind of blend it out. Fan it out. And then, you know, that the face is furry too, so you actually kind of want to soften that edge a little bit. So the shadows that I see on the cat there just kind of show the hair. So I'm just kind of going a little darker, showing, this will kind of give the depth, you know, the shape of the body there if you give it the right curve. And then we got to be able to see the tail, so we have to again kind of paint the dark shadow around it so that we see the tail itself. And then the tail has a little bit of striping in it. And I'm going to kind of add the stripes and then I'm going to blend them out so they're softer with a clear. You got to keep adding water to keep the edges soft. So you can do this along one side. You might want to kind of soften the other. Keep the edges soft. I think I will end up painting some of the shadows of the bedding around to define how the cat is kind of nestled in there. But I'll do that towards the end. I'm going to keep going around the face. You want to have a focal point, so it's, you know, probably going to be in the center on the face. I'm going to make this even a little darker. Keep adding to the shadows. Let's start. I want to keep this white tuft here. So I keep softening these edges. So just with a clear brush, I'm kind of going in there, softening edges. Let's see here. A little bit of darkness here. You gotta keep building it up. It's always gonna dry a little lighter. These finishing touches in here. It's a little wet to be doing this, but it still works. A little bit here. Let's see. Kind of want this to finish it off, giving those last little details. There we go. I think it's done. You could keep working, but this gets the general idea.